Yo, what's going on guys, it's Abs here and welcome back to another Gears 5 news update video. So in today's video I'm going to be discussing the latest news surrounding the Gnasher shotgun game mechanics update, which includes lowering the gib range and the poke distance damage as well. So as always, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for everything Gears of War related, and yeah, let's dive straight into this news video. So I just want to firstly state as well that the gameplay that you're seeing in the background is gameplay after this update dropped. So as you can see in the background, there is a lot of extended Gnasher gunfights, and in my opinion this is a good update, but I'm going to explain it in further detail as well as to what they need to do to perfect this update and the changes they actually need to make alongside this Gnasher change. So the article from the Coalition explaining this mechanics update firstly states the following. The Gears Gnasher is one of the trickiest weapons to get right in gaming, being one of the few loadout weapons in existence with an instant kill mechanic. Every mechanic in Versus pivots around it. The amount of damage every weapon does, movement speed, damage fall off and more are all impacted by gib distance, e.g. the distance where hitting with enough pellets instantly kills your target. So yeah, this is basically saying everything in Versus revolves around the Gnasher. And if you change the Gnasher, everything around it changes as well. So that's what you always need to consider, and that's what they should have considered when changing the Gnasher now. So let's see what else they've got to say. While we feel that the Gnasher is currently in a good spot in Gears 5, we are always looking for opportunities to improve the combat experience. As part of our ongoing mechanics updates, we made a few changes to the Gnasher to make the game both more fun and more skillful. Right, sounds good so far. Let's see what else they've got to say. The first are about making the close range fights richer and slightly longer. We have decreased the Gnasher gib distance by 26 unreal units, a little less than 1 foot. Right, just want to talk about that first part first. So obviously they want to make the Gnasher gunfights longer and better, which is great, because the Gnasher in Gears 5 at the moment is kind of like the sword off, like one hit, the gib distance is too large, we know that. If you've been playing Gears for a long time, you will know this for a fact. An unreal unit is like 1 centimeter in game, so they have decreased the Gnasher gib distance by about 26 centimeters in game, if that makes sense. So in order to want to hit someone, you have to be a bit closer. And let's see what else they've got to say. We have also reduced the point blank damage for a full spread by 100 damage out of 600 max. These are intended to decrease the lethality close range, which will have two effects. Right, okay. First, it will mean that charging players will have to push further, opening them up to damage before reaching their target. It will also mean that if you land a shot just outside of gib range, your opponent will now have a lot more health to work with, from roughly around 5 health pre-change to closer to 90 health post-change. A single bullet won't take them down, you'll need to land another semi-solid hit. This will keep the dance going a little longer for players to demonstrate their skill in either movement or shooting. Right, so categorize that first sentence. Basically, if you are quite an aggressive player, you need to push further, and that means that you're opening yourself up to more damage, and that's why they have to work around this. So if you're gonna decrease the Gnasher gib range, that means the weapons around it need to be nerfed as well, in my opinion, or some changes need to be made. For instance, if I'm pushing with the Gnasher, and someone's trying to land me down, I have to get really close to them now to actually one-shot them or get them down. Whereas before, I was a bit further away and I could get them down just before they got me. So that means the Lancer is going to be a bit more powerful now. So if they're going to lower the gib range, that means that some changes needs to be made with the Lancer as well, and that's what they need to understand. And also, with this lower poke damage and the lower gib distance, it should surely mean that 8 shells need to return. They need to return. 6 shells is not enough. It's not enough. With the Gnasher that they had before, 6 shells was okay. You know, it weren't that bad. But now, 6 shells is not enough. 8 shells does the trick. And yeah, obviously, you have more health to work around with as well. So, you know, extended Gnasher gunfights is always great. And I've just seen on Twitter that people are complaining a lot about this. But when you look back at Gears of War 1 or even Gears of War 4 for example, the Gnasher gunfights were so extended. It's only because Gears 5 launched the Gnasher in such a terrible state and with such strong aim assist and such large gib distance that it seems like it's odd and it's out of place, but it's not out of place. This is how it's always been. That's what people need to realize. And also, it increases the skill gap once again as well, which is awesome, because now people can't run up towards you from a bit further away and one-shot you. They have to get close, and by the time they get close, you can strafe around, you can wall bounce around them, little movement plays around them, and it's going to show who the actual skillful players are. And that's why this is a good update. And let's see what this next paragraph has to say. The second change was in the poke distance. After 1000 Unreal units, pellets will still do a little bit of damage. This means that the Nasher can hit an incoming or outgoing player at further distances to do more chip damage. This will have several effects. It will be more worthwhile to get an early shot on a charging player, as well as following Nasher players to chase wounded players more easily. It will also make mid-range fights more viable, so that there is more meaningful choice in which weapon you choose to engage with. Ultimately, these changes will bring more time, depth and strategy to close range fights. They will also act as an effective counter to Nasher players that thoughtlessly charge an opponent, a step that complements some of the recent movement changes. Right, so they have included a graph that describes the change numerically, but to summarize, the gib distance was brought in by 26 Unreal units. So let's say that's 26 centimeters in game, that's about 1 foot. The point blank damage was reduced by 100 points for a full spread. The poke damage at ultra long range was flattened at 100 points for a full spread. And the comparison of the new and previous Nashers is shown below on this new graph. The green line is the new Nasher and the red line is the Nasher in update 4.1. So as you can see, the gib range is a lot lower, and honestly this update is good, and I'll tell you why. Because firstly, it extends the Nasher gunfights, and that's what Gears of War multiplayer has always been about. It's not been known for Lancers of War, it's always been Gears of War Nasher gunfights. That's what it's always been about. That's what people need to understand. And obviously that increases the skill gap as well, because you need skill to actually bounce around or strafe or however you want to move, and however you want to push someone. You have to think a bit more tactically, and you can't just walk up to someone or bot walk to someone and just give them from a bit further away. You actually need some skill. That's why this update is good. But I will say this, if you're going to change this, there has to be some changes that need to be made alongside this, otherwise this update is not going to work. For example, you need 8 shells, you can't have 6 shells, because if you're in an extended Nasher gunfight now, it's going to take about 2-3 hits to sometimes kill someone. And if that's the case, you're going to be out of ammo really quickly. You're going to find yourself reloading a lot of the time. Obviously 8 shells always, it was great, you don't have to change that. That's what annoys me, to be honest. 8 shells was never a problem, it was never a problem. And I don't know why they have to feel that they need to change it. So I hope they bring back 8 shells instead of 6. And also some changes need to be made with the Lancer as well, because if the Nasher gib range has lowered, and if the poke damage at ultra long range was flattened as well slightly, that means that obviously the Lancer is going to be a bit more powerful now, because it's harder to actually counter them, because you have to get closer to actually shoot them down with Nasher. So something has to be done with the Lancer, reduced clip size or increased recoil. For example, the Lancer grenade launcher does have quite a bit of recoil on it, and it should be like that with the Lancer, normal Lancer as well, in my opinion. Or just nerf it in general, the damage. Something needs to be done about it. Something definitely needs to be done. But yeah, that is the latest Nasher update in Gears 5 at the moment. So let me know what you guys think of this update, and yeah, just thought I'd share my thoughts and opinions of that as well, just to kind of clarify some things, and also just explain some things in some further detail, and just elaborate on what's on my mind as well. So if you did enjoy this video, be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you are new to this channel, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.